Hi, it's a couple of things, and today I have a guest, Maryam, and we talk about why she's leaving her 5 year career as a marketing person in tech to become a psychologist slash psychotherapist, and also about the beliefs that we have, how they come, and how we can overcome our limiting beliefs about ourselves and what we can do. Happy listening. Hi, welcome to today's episode of A Couple of Things, a podcast about things. Today I have a guest who I met in the Netherlands. Her name is Maryam. Please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone that would be listening. I'm Maryam. How do I describe myself? I am a marketing manager and psychologist-ish. And I am someone who is like passionate about self-compassion and just like healing and growing mentally, if I have to sum it up in one sentence.
Nice.
Thanks for having me, Lade.
What do
I
you
was
mean
looking
by
forward to it.
psychologist kind of? Why is it kind of?
Um, well, because I am just training to be one. I'm just going back to school to be one.
So you're a
Um,
psychologist in training.
yeah, psychologist in training. Yes, let's
Nice,
put it that way.
nice. Amazing. What led you to that path? Because I take it that you were not a psychologist in training before. So how did you become a psychologist
Yeah.
in training? Or why?
I've always wanted to be a psychologist, a
Mm,
psychotherapist specifically.
yeah.
But when I was wrapping up my bachelor's in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
I had a different understanding of what it meant to be a psychologist, yeah, because of, the environment that I was in, and not much people around me were therapists exactly. So it felt like I saw something in the movies and then I wanted to be it. And in real life, it actually wasn't a real path. Do you
Mm,
understand? So, um, I, as per eldest girl, basically finished school and all of that. I went into the next best thing that everyone around me was talking about, which was tech. And that is how I ended up having a full blown marketing career in tech. And now I am, well, I don't know, call it alignment, call it whatever it is. I'm grateful it happened, but um,
now on the
it has
path
made me
to
want to go back to, yeah, to what I actually want to do. So, yeah.
nice. That's amazing. I always find it very exciting whenever people decide that I'm done with this other thing I was doing before. I want to do a new thing and totally change the direction of my life. And I actually love that. And it's very encouraging and because it's this idea that like you don't have to do the thing you've been doing before. You can choose to wake
Yeah,
up one day and do something new and different, and that's
yeah.
fine.
And even if it's scary,
Yeah.
it's still
I mean, it's
good
definitely
scary.
always scary to leave what you've been doing for whatever,
Yeah.
no matter how long, even if it's 1 year that you've been doing something for, it's actually scary to say, okay, this thing that I've spent 1 year doing, I'm not just again, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
something else entirely different. So yeah, that's amazing that you're able to do that. So what is the thing that drew you into being interested in psychotherapy in the first place?
Me, actually, myself, my
Mm,
mind, how it works, the things that have happened to me and how they have influenced my thought process about myself and other people, my outlook in life. I was very to myself growing up because
mm,
of, you know, um the usual bullying. I mean, I was a smart kid who wore glasses all the time and had like several bouts of acne,
mm,
and there was no one exactly to talk about these things with. So like when I see in well, I watched a lot of movies, read a lot of books. So when I read in books, in movies, and there's always this person who you can go to make sense of these things, right? And just realizing that there are so many people who just want someone to like get what they are talking about or actually help them see it from a different perspective.
mm,
That was where it came from. And then the need to help people, right? And even before coming back to studying to be a psychologist, I've been like doing like interim psychology for my friends and my family. Some of them even just refer to me as this is my therapist, which I tell them is illegal to say so. But there's just this, it comes very naturally to me. If there's anything that comes naturally to me, is actually helping people make sense of the things in their mind. So, and I
Nice.
enjoy it. Yeah.
That is nice. But before we continue on, a little bit of a step back, which is the first question I should have asked you. What was on your mind today?
Well, what's on my mind today is something very close to my heart. And it actually ties into the questions you've been asking me.
Oh, nice.
It's something incredibly important for like anyone on a journey of personal growth and just rediscovering themselves. And what I want to talk about is limiting beliefs, actually, but not just the sneaky little thoughts that can hold us back without even realizing it. I want to specifically talk about the things that are we refer to as strengths, but they actually come from limiting beliefs. So that's what's on my mind today
Hmm.
and what I want to talk about.
Okay, go ahead. Let's talk about it. So, what about limiting beliefs?
Okay, so well, where do I start from? All right, so we all have these beliefs, yeah, that lurk in the back of our minds, the invisible barriers that we've like built up over time. Most times without us even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the thought that, oh, you're not good enough for that promotion, or you don't deserve. Yeah, the word deserve is actually like a huge play in limiting beliefs. And it's funny, we're talking about limiting beliefs today, and I have to admit, I almost let mine stop me from joining this conversation. Earlier today, I was thinking maybe I should just cancel. What if I don't have
You know
anything
that we
valuable
live
to
in the
say?
same country. I'll find you.
Right? What if I don't have anything valuable to say? I mean, it's raining. I could just tell Lade that my network is bad. But I was like, the Holy Spirit would tell Lade that I'm lying. Right? So, like, limiting beliefs are, well, if I want to define it, right, is this automatic filter that
Mm,
sorts our experiences into a cannot do before we
mm,
even like test the waters, right?
yeah,
I've
like
never
a
been on a
subconscious
podcast.
thing.
Yeah, I've never been on a podcast. I'm like, what if I keep interrupting? What if she has like, but it's like, so what if then? And then what? But before I like go into that, yeah, these beliefs do not just appear out of thin air. They are formed gradually, they are built up over time through our experiences. And it takes one experience here to set the foundation. But when we start viewing other experiences, it's like you're wearing a colored lens, right? You start to interact with other experiences in that light. So let's say, for example, a childhood moment, yeah, which is usually where most limiting beliefs actually take root.
I'm from, yeah.
Maybe yeah, a one offhand comment from a parent like, you're not smart like your brother, or English is just not your strong suit, and all of that. Every
Mm,
other interaction that the child has with mathematics, for example, or science, rather than them thinking, oh, this subject is actually difficult, they think, oh yeah, it's a me thing. I'm not
mm.
as smart as my brother, or something like that, right? But it's not even just individual comments. Our
Or like
entire
you don't have the
environment.
affinity for this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You when I was in secondary school, my voice was like that of a baby, like as if a baby just knew how to speak English. And we used to have these assemblies where we would host debates. I remember the first time I was going to do one, and it's a roster thing, so you can't avoid it. I remember the first time I was going to do one. If you avoid it, you get punished, yeah, and stuff. And throughout the debate, even though I made solid points, I kept hearing my voice, right? Because people have teased me about it, or you sound like a
Yeah.
child, you sound like a baby. I didn't hear all the smart points I was giving out. It was just the fact that it was sounding like a child, right? So the environment, the norms that we are exposed to, or painting, for example, a typical African parent say, is this what you are going to use to eat in the future? You cannot be a
Mm.
doctor. What do you mean you want to be a comic book artist? And all of that, right? So it's every experience would now seem to confirm this belief and make it stronger. If you believe you're bad at public speaking, for instance, you would avoid opportunities to speak up. And that would in turn reinforce the belief that you're not good at it,
So it's kind of like a
right?
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly. So it runs on autopilot. The moment it takes root, it just continues. It continues like that. So
Mm.
why I want to talk about this here is because my limiting beliefs that I've had, I didn't even know this. They are tied to some of the things that are like my most important strengths as a
Mm.
human being, right? And once I started to understand that limiting beliefs are learned, you're not born with it, I started the process of unlearning them,
Mm.
right? So
I mean, if
when
you
I
learn
first
something, then
stumbled,
you can unlearn it.
exactly, but learning, if you think learning is hard, unlearning will
Unlearning.
kick you in the knees, like really kick you in the knees. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about it now, because once you start to unpack where these beliefs come from, you can start questioning them. And that's when things can like really start to shift.
Hmm.
You know, when I first stumbled upon this concept of strength being rooted in limiting beliefs, it really shook me because I started seeing it everywhere in my own life. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, and I feel like a lot of people hopefully should be able to relate, is perfectionism. By perfectionism, I wore it like a badge of honor. Like I have high standards, I have attention to detail. Yes,
First daughter
yeah, I
things.
do. Do you understand? First daughter things, it's like you want me to plan an event in 3 days, leave it, I will do
Hmm.
it, right? But it was also paralyzing me. I remember this one time I was working on an important presentation. I spent so much time tweaking every little detail that I missed the deadline. I
Wow.
was so devastated. And I started to like think like, okay, because I was ranting to a friend about it. They were helping me take a look, and she said, "Ah, but this thing is good now. Why? What happened and stuff?" And then I started to realize that it was not being a perfectionist. It was that deep fear of criticism that if it wasn't flawless, they
Mm.
would know that I'm a fraud,
Mm.
right? They would know that I don't belong here. They would spot that one mistake and realize, oh no, she's not right for this. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I wanted the colors to be perfect or the slides to animate. I started to realize that I believe that the reason why I'm a perfectionist in so many things is because anything less than is not worthy of commendation, is not worthy of applause or recognition or validation, right?
Mm.
And I know that it's something that I've seen in so many people, and usually comes from this: you must get first position, second is less than, and
Mm.
second cannot be applauded. You have to be perfect, 100. If you go to this competition, you have to win. Do you understand? Because
Mm.
anything less than winning, less than being the best at it, was wrong, right? And that's just one example. Another strength that I feel like comes from limiting belief for most people is these workaholic tendencies
Mm.
that we that most people tend to have. I used to pride myself on it, like I'm always available, hit me up anytime, I'm always hustling. There's, if you need this
Let's
thing to
get
be
it.
done, just like, right? I thought it showed dedication, but it was actually masking, and it might not be the same for everyone, right? And no doubt it has helped me in so many ways. I remember when I was working at a particular company, you don't even get considered for a promotion until after a year. I got a promotion like 5 months in, right?
Mm.
And yay, smart girl, dedicated worker, and all of that. But it was actually masking this belief that I'm only valuable if I'm productive,
Mm.
right? I would work Christmas,
Mm.
I would work on holidays and all of that. And I don't know if there's anybody out there who thinks that they are only valuable if they're productive. You're not, right? You're not. I was missing out on life because of this need to constantly prove my worth through work,
Mm.
right? And this last one is for my fellow first girls in the house. Being fiercely independent. Oh my God. Oh my God. I always saw like self-reliance as this
You don't need
amazing
anybody.
strength. I don't need anybody, right? I would if I if we had to build our houses ourselves before we can ever have one, I'm pretty sure I would not hire anybody, right? I always try to do everything myself. I would will I run myself into the ground? Yes, but would I ask for help? No. No. But it took me a while to realize that it was rooted, this strength, quote unquote, was rooted in a belief that asking for help was a sign of weakness.
Mm.
Ah, sure, you cannot do it. How many times do I want to tell you? How many times do I want to teach you this thing? So it's like I would rather figure it out myself, melt in the process, than ask anybody for help, right?
Mm.
And so I developed this idea that I had to do everything alone to succeed. And it didn't help that I was also the fixer in my friend group or family. People would come to me with their problems. It felt good, being
Yeah.
needed, being the responsible one, but it was exhausting. I was neglecting like my own needs. I remember this one time I cancelled like a much needed break because somebody had broken up with my friend at the time.
Mm.
And even the friend that I now wanted to be there for, I could not be there for her too because I was exhausted,
Mm.
right? And but in the eyes of other people, it's like Maryam is always going to be there and all of that. But it was one of those limiting beliefs for me that how much I did for other people determined how well they stayed in my life. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And this particular limiting belief, I know where it came from. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the conversation, I said I was bullied a lot in secondary school, but I
Yeah.
was smart. So the same people who bullied me, when they needed my help with the assignment, they were nice. So you
Mm.
are capable of being nice to me. You just choose not to, right?
Mm.
So it got to a point I started offering myself because, they were nice to me when I did stuff for them that required intellect, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So it and these strengths they served me well in some ways. That's why they stuck around for so long. They were very
Yeah.
useful. But they were also limiting. So maybe I should call them limiting strengths. So it's like being good at sprinting, yeah. You know how to win all the short distance races, and then because of that, you decide you're never going to run a marathon
Yeah.
because you don't want to be like number 58 out of 100 and 100 and something that would run it, right? And let me tell you, that self reflection was not easy, right? But it was very eye opening for me. It wasn't like, oh, I need to completely change who I am now. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It was more about bringing awareness to those beliefs under those strengths and find a healthier balance. Like I had to ask myself, is this trait truly serving me or is it holding me back
Mm.
in my ways? Do you understand? So
Yeah.
and they did have their positive parts, like the
Definitely. I
perfectionism, for
think that
example.
like when we
Yeah.
have these beliefs, right, the reason why we hold on to them for so long or that it works because like what your body does or what you're as a person, like as a human being,
Mm,
you're
mm,
designed to do what makes you feel the safest and most protected and
yeah.
maximizing at the
Yeah.
same time maximizing your benefits and results. So if you have made this association that, oh, if I help
Mm-hmm.
everybody with everything, then people will like me and they will not bully me and they'll be my friend, then that's what you just keep on doing because it works. But then you'll
Yeah.
get to a point where it doesn't work anymore. But then you've been doing it for so long that it may even take you a while to realize that, oh, this is not working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just try
Yeah,
harder and then
definitely.
you're like, no, I have to try harder. I worked before, so you work again.
Exactly. And you find new ways, new ways to like be that person, be that fixer. Even when, and I mean, I'm an adult now. You cannot come up to my face and bully me. I will change it for you respectfully. But even then, it's like if someone should like text me, even if we've not talked in a while, and you're like, I really need to talk to someone. I think that's also one of the things that makes me want to be a therapist because I want to. It's how do I explain it? It's just that most people do not have that person that they can text.
Mm.
or they are scared that, oh, okay, if I text this person will say, oh, so you haven't texted me in a while, now you're texting me to tell me this. But let me
Yeah.
not digress, right?
Mhm.
But the whole the whole backstory is because I have been learning some new ways to work on these beliefs, and I'm hoping that I can help one person or two people to like work on these on their limiting beliefs, right? So I want to like share some of the things that have been working for me, both like spiritually and also physically and mentally,
Okay, let's talk about that,
right?
like how to handle those limiting beliefs. But before we go into that, I wanted to talk about something that you said, right, about like some of the limiting beliefs, and we kind of touched on it already. It's like how they come to be. Like the reason why you unconsciously or subconsciously still have those beliefs is because they worked in the
Yeah.
space where you were in, where you were when you were
Mm-hmm.
developing those things. And it's not like somebody came and told you in your ear that, oh, if you do everything for people they will like you, or
Yeah.
must do
Yeah.
everything perfectly. Like it's not necessarily that people told you that per se. It's just
Mm-hmm.
things that you pick up in your environment as you go. You observe things
Yeah.
happen, you and then you make associations and you make meanings on, and all of this happens
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously, right?
Yeah.
And then that becomes the thing that you follow and the pattern that you go through as you grow
Yeah.
older, until you come to a point where you're like, why am I behaving this way?
Yeah. That
And then
the word you said, pattern,
mm,
that's the one. Because it's patterns are formed. Do you understand? These experiences, these events, they are like we're very impressionable as children,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Your mind is
And
literally open to, that's what you're supposed to do as a
very
child, to learn
open,
about the world and the environments that you're in. So
very
you're
open.
consuming things
Yeah,
unconsciously.
actually.
But yeah, so like it just creates this pattern, and the thing is like you need to first ask, like, oh, why am I behaving like this? What is it? And
Mm-hmm.
it's the things that you already gave some of those examples, so I will not like overflog it. Oh, I'm behaving like this because I think that if I do it,
Mm-hmm.
this is what will happen. And then you realize that, oh, okay, that's not always the case, and this is where this is
Yeah.
also harming me. But yeah, all right, so how does one overcome limiting beliefs?
Right. Okay. So, like I said, one of the things about limiting beliefs is that they can be really sneaky. We often don't even realize that we have them. But there are some common categories that I've noticed in myself and in some of my, well, quote unquote, therapy sessions with my friends and people that I have spoken to. The first common one is the I'm not good enough belief. That's a big one. Or I don't deserve success, or I'm too old or too young to do this. And if you find yourself like constantly procrastinating on a goal or constantly self sabotaging or making excuses for why you can't do something, like I almost did for this podcast, you are in that category, right? And one exercise I love for uncovering these beliefs, I call it the why not me exercise. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't do that, ask yourself, why not me? Right? And then write those things down. Half the things that you would write down would be limiting beliefs. Like when you write those things down and then you take it a step further and said, who told you so? You would realize that, okay, these things, you've actually formed it in your head,
Mm,
right? There is literally no evidence that you cannot do it.
yeah,
And even when there is evidence, you look at those evidence and you see the learning opportunities that are
yeah.
there. So that why not me exercise is very, very
Yeah, do you know, this just
helpful
reminds
for
me of
me.
something that I also learned like some time ago, and I shared with people, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know it yet. I can't do it
Yes,
yet.
yes,
Just add the yet to
exactly.
the end of it, because like there were so many things that you did not know before that you know now. There were so many
Mm-hmm.
things you could not do before that you can do now. When you were born, you could not
Mm-hmm.
talk. Now you're talking. When you
Exactly,
were
exactly. Exactly. Another one that I do is I call it like belief busting, basically. Let's just call it what it is, busting the belief. So
Mhm.
first off, you have to internalize that they are beliefs, they are not facts.
Mm,
So when I identify the belief, or maybe how do I put this? It's like all or nothing, right? So when you have that thought, right, and then you write it down, you find evidence that contradicts it, basically.
mm,
It's just when I catch one of those limiting thoughts, I challenge it. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not the world's great public speaker, But have I ever given a presentation that went well? Yes. Have I ever received positive feedback? Yes. Do you think you can talk to me anyhow? You disbelieve. I'm going to talk to you right back. Right? Is it's just like all or nothing. It's like you cannot come at me without expecting me to come at you back.
Back, yeah.
So belief busting really, really helps, right?
Mm.
So if you write down your biggest goals and your dreams, people would say, okay, write down the things you think you have to do to achieve them. I say, write down all the things that you believe would not help you achieve them. Those reasons, most of them are often limiting beliefs in disguise, right? So I just like reverse engineer the whole process, right? And I just want to say that, that's where self compassion comes in. Learning to be kind to myself through this process has been huge because these beliefs have deep roots. They've been with us for a long time. So it's normal to struggle
It will take
sometimes,
time, yeah,
to fall
exactly.
back, yeah, to
It's
fall
not like
back
you
into
wake up
those
this morning
old
and
patterns.
like, no more limiting beliefs. Let's go.
No, no, no. It's like wearing a coat that doesn't fit, and then you're trying to trick your second hand inside, and you're just turning on one spot, trying to squeeze yourself inside, right? So if you are the type of person where criticism means that you're failing, that you cannot even receive constructive feedback, or you're the type of person that would procrastinate because you think you're not ready, you're not good enough, or something like that,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
are you are that's just what I want to say, because you cannot, and it's such a catch-22 situation, because you cannot be good enough without practicing.
Mm.
So that good enough that you want to get to, you would not even get there because
Yeah.
you refuse to take
To
the first step,
try. Yeah.
because you say you are not good enough. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn it because I'm trying to make videos that day in my life like this. And it's like, where do you want people to start from? And for believers in the Word of God, the Bible is also very helpful. The Bible has been very, very helpful to me,
So before you
especially
go on to this
Isaiah.
point, I want to just say something you
Yeah,
said
yeah.
about like starting. There's this I love this
Mm-hmm.
clip that I saw on Instagram some years ago, and this baby was like sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at it. It's like you suck at first and then you get better if you keep doing it.
Girl,
Like, and I think it's very,
girl.
very important to try to do something like that you think is difficult and do it, because when you do that thing, it really changes your perspective. Like one of my friends, she was on podcast earlier in
Mm-hmm.
the year, and she talked about like how
Mm-hmm.
she did this very long, I think 700-kilometer bicycle
Hey.
race in Ireland. And Ireland is very hilly. And imagine doing that
Yeah.
at 700 and something kilometers. I can't remember anymore, but it was a really long distance. Maybe 400, 700, and it was like her first time doing it. And like now, whenever she's like, I can't do this thing, she's like, I rode 700 kilometers in
Do you
Ireland.
get?
So I can't
Oh
do
my
it.
God.
All right.
Oh
So
my
yeah, go
God.
ahead with what you're
Right.
saying.
So yeah, so like I said, the Bible has been very, very helpful for me. There's this one, Philippians 4:13, definitely. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Most people say it a lot, but like I start like understanding fully that verse because
Mm,
it reminds me that my strength does not come from my own abilities.
yeah,
It's not I can do all things through Christ who
because
supports me.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like I can do it only because Christ is
car strength
strengthening me.
things me.
So it's
Mm.
like if this person that they flogged, put on the cross, nailed him, is actually strengthening me. It's he has a lot of strength to give, and
Yeah,
I'm happy to like be tapping from it.
and then he also
And
was
another,
raised from the dead.
do
That's
you
like
understand?
what's bigger strength?
Another verse that has been forming is Isaiah. Isaiah is one of my favorite books in the Bible.
Mm,
So Isaiah 41 verse 10, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. He goes on and on like that with just like
yeah,
this pep talk
mm,
about just I'm here. Do you understand?
yeah,
So, and that's something really beautiful about aligning our beliefs with God's word. It's like instead of trying to build our lives on our own limited understanding, there's like solid truth
yeah, that you can
in God's
rely on.
word.
Okay,
Exactly. And so, um,
that's yeah.
yeah.
That is amazing. So, first identify those beliefs. Think about like why do you think you can't do this thing, or you can't get whatever it is you want to get, or you can't accomplish this thing, and then find
Mm-hmm,
evidence to the contrary and bust those
mm-hmm.
beliefs. And always
Bust
very
them.
helpful to start with the word of God as a very strong place
Yeah.
of defining your
Yeah.
beliefs. Amazing. Anything else you want to leave the people with, and where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Okay, so one thing I want to leave the people with is when you change your beliefs, you change your actions. And when you change your
Yeah.
actions, you change your life, basically.
Yes, because
And that sums it
your
up.
behaviors are based on your beliefs. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
alliterate; it just happened. But really,
Okay, go off.
your
Alliteration
behaviors
queen.
are based on you, and I think that's one of the first things I learned in psychology, that your behaviors are based on what you think, what you actually believe.
Yeah.
That prompts
Yeah,
how you
true.
act. So, yeah.
True. Well, if you want to find me, I'm Four-Eyed Murray on Instagram, but I would very much prefer if you follow Embrace You Fully on Instagram, as
Okay.
it's spelled Embrace You Fully, because
Yeah,
that is
I'll
where
include all
I
the
will
links
be.
in the show notes.
Thank you. That is where I'm going to be talking
Amazing.
about more of these things
Thank
once
you
I
so
suck
much.
it up and make a video.
And like you've just said you do it here, and you've just talked about limiting beliefs, so you do it. And also I know where to find you, so you'll do
Okay, you keep
it.
threatening, ma'am. You keep threatening. But
uh,
thank you, really. Thank you so much.
all right. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for listening. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Couple of Things. If there was anything you found interesting or insightful, or you enjoyed the episode, please do share to someone or multiple people. Like, leave a comment, and definitely do subscribe and all the nice things. Bye.